I'm gonna sneeze. I don't want to sneeze. Because when I sneeze, it goes on forever and ever and ever. Okay. I'm fighting the sneeze. Hi, everyone. Should I start with the best books or the worst books? What would you guys prefer? Let's mix it up. Let's start with the best book that I read so far in this pile, at least, of books. Divine Rivals. This is a series of just 2 books. I've heard about it for the past year, and I was pushing it aside, going, no, I don't need to read this. But then I was like, you know what? Let's go for it. So I read the first book a month ago, and I loved it so much. So I said, I got to read the next one too. So Divine Rivals is the first, Ruthless Vows is the second. So I thought, let's just do a double review. This is a very interesting and very well-written series. It starts off with Iris Winnow. She's a girl who wants a certain position at a job that she has been really looking forward to as a reporter. But there's another person that wants the same position, and he's got money, and his name is Roman Kit. The 2 of them, it's not like they don't get along, it's just that because they both want the same position, they kind of clash here and there. Iris, she lives with her mother, who is a bit of a drunk, and she also has a brother named Forrest, and he's out to war. So I want to just explain a little bit about what this war is about. They have these immortals. There are only a couple of them left, and they're treated like gods and goddesses. There's Dacre and there's Enva, and the 2 of them, they have an interesting story. So in the first book, we don't get too much of the story, just a little bit. And in the second book, we get so much more about understanding who they are. But this war is about people taking sides for Dacre and Enva. Iris and Roman are for the side of Enva. So Iris, she has this typewriter, and it was her grandmother's, and it's very special to her. So one day she's just typing on it. She's typing her thoughts or whatever. She sends a letter, it's a magical typewriter where it's through like a wardrobe. So at first I was like, what are we doing? Lion Witch in the wardrobe now? But it's completely different from that. It has nothing to do with that. It just so happens that the wardrobe's like a portal for magic. She's corresponding back and forth with this one person. Right away, we know who this person is, but she doesn't, and that's Roman Kit. He has the same type of typewriter that he got from his grandmother. So these are magical typewriters. They start to correspond. I love letter writing so much. I have pen pals, so I just devoured this. But the way that they write to each other is just so beautiful. The words that they write to each other, the way that they're getting to know one another. This is like a really good budding romance that you don't get in a lot of stories. I feel like there's more of this connection that they have instead of like, oh, you're hot, let's get together. This is like, we're learning about each other. We're becoming very into understanding who we are. And I think I really like this person, even though I don't know who they are, or maybe I do know who they are and I really like this person, but I don't know how to tell them. So the story is about them and how they deal with the war and as being reporters. Content-wise, so it's hard without giving a spoiler. There's nothing grotesque, graphic. There's nothing like explicit in this, but there are people that sleep together in this. There is also, there's a lesbian couple where they just say, my wife. There's nothing else beyond that. There is some violence because there's war. As far as language, I only remember maybe like 2 words throughout the entire thing. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure. This was such a well-developed story. It was so cool. And I got sucked into it. I really loved it. It's very rare that I give like 4 or 5 stars to books, but both of these got 4 stars from me and probably like 4.5 stars. It's just that content usually brings down my ratings for things. So yeah, 4.5 stars easily for both of these. So those are some of the best books I have read, at least in this pile. So now should I give you the worst book that I've read like pretty much this year? Or at least one of them. Sorry for the glare on this. It's just the hard book covers from the library. They put the protection on it. The ones that are paperback, they don't. This just came out April 1st. I originally was gonna put this on my spring to read list, and I'm actually really glad that I didn't, but it was terrible. It was really not good. I know some people probably would love it, but it was just like horrible. Like, what can I say about this to give it some sort of goodness? Well, I could tell you what the story is about. So the main character, Lindsay, she is in a coma. We find out what gets her in the coma. We found out some of her backstory. It leads up to today, you know, kind of thing. She's a very young woman. She's like 23, maybe 22. We hear about a little bit about this one person that she knows. She lives in China. She's been in China for 2 years. She lives in Shanghai. She's very close to her adoptive sister who was born in China. And she's very close to her sister. They talk all the time. Now, her parents, she doesn't really talk to that often. But both of her parents, they are divorced, but they go to visit her while she is in her coma. And so then we find out their backstory. There's like no redeeming qualities for any of the characters, except for maybe the adoptive daughter. And this isn't really a happy ending. There's a slightly happy ending. This book has like all the content that I didn't want. And I don't know, it was a brand new book. I didn't have a way to find out content. I need to find out content before I read books because I get so disappointed when I start reading them. This book is basically about a call girl. To me, what doesn't make sense is they even talk about her mom at one point did like a walk against human trafficking and her daughter was like a part of that. But then, you know, her daughter's basically caught up in some sort of human trafficking ring. I had no connection to like any of the characters. Then they had these side stories that were about characters that weren't even important. They were like brought up here and there. And then all of a sudden it's like we get a backstory about some guy that works the counter where the girl works. It's like, I don't need to know about this guy. Why are we going into this guy's life? Let's stick to understanding who these people are, the main characters. This book shouldn't have been called Rabbit Moon. It barely talks about Rabbit Moon. Is like one chapter where they bring up a little bit. This should be called But Daddy, I Love Him. This story also has, how do I say, I can't, like, this book stinks. I'm so sorry. Have fun. If one of you will read it maybe and love it, great. I gave this 1 star. This is the worst book I've read all year. So I'm very disappointed. Okay, back to a book that I really, really liked. Okay. Whew. The Street of a Thousand Blossoms. This was like what I said on my to be read list for spring. This was like the one that I looked most forward to. And I said, you know, I was going to maybe save it for later, but let's get it done with. Let's love it. Let's enjoy it. I thought it was really good. It wasn't amazing, but it was really good. This is a story about 2 brothers. They're being raised in Japan before and about the time of World War II, when Japan bombs Pearl Harbor, and then when war breaks out against Japan. And so this talks about what life was like for these young boys. Now we find out that these young boys are orphans. They explain how their parents died. They're being raised by their grandparents, and their grandparents really adore them. They are doing their best. These 2 boys, they both have different things that they're interested in. One is very into mask making, which I can't remember exactly what the name of the mask, what that is called in Japanese culture, but he loves making masks. He becomes an apprentice for this master, the sensei. So we have a little bit of the sensei story in this throughout the book, just a little bit of his story. We get a little bit of the grandparents' story throughout this book. We get definitely a lot of the story of the 2 brothers, but the main one that we get most of the story from is the other brother, and he wants to be a sumo wrestler. So he goes to a dojo where he is being trained by some really great coach sensei, and he gets really very much into sumo wrestling. So this then goes into after the war, what happens to their lives. Now the sensei of the dojo, he has 2 daughters, and each of these daughters, we get a little bit of their story as well throughout the whole book. This definitely, it covers a lot of people's stories, but it does it really well. At first I was a little confused by who was who, because I was like, wait, I'm really bad with names for characters. I don't remember them that well, but I do know, I think the brothers' names are Kenji and Hiroshi. I could be wrong on that. This book was really delightful. There's so many poetic things that are said throughout this, just like words of wisdom. Some of the grandparents will say things that I'm like, wow, that was deep. There's one character named Aki. Now, I didn't mention her. She's a little bit of a side character, but she has importance too. A deep importance. She says something about how marriage is like a rock, nothing can move it. I wish I could know exactly what it was, but it was beautiful. And I was like, wow, that's lovely. A lot of people talk down marriage in books, but this was like saying how important it was and how beautiful it was. I was like, that's really nice. So I loved this book. There's a lot of stuff in it that's hard, and it was so sad. There are so many sad situations. I mean, when you live through war and you see war right in front of you on your doorstep, you're gonna have sadness. But there was also beauty throughout it. Content-wise, there is a little bit of content. There's some drunkenness. I don't remember if there's any bad words throughout this. Again, there's not explicit sex, but there is talk about people being together intimately. I don't like to read books where it's very, very graphic. And the last book I mentioned, Rabbit Moon, that was very graphic. So that I was like, I hate this. because it was not a good graphic. It's not how you want it to be. Back to this book, I loved it. Okay, so I brought up stuff about typewriters, magical typewriters. We have a theme going here that I didn't even realize was going on when I was reading these books. And then I started reading Olivetti, which is on my spring to read list. So another one accomplished, and again, I'm sorry, it's shiny. I'm gonna be returning these today. I was like, I gotta do a quick review before I don't have these books, because when you see that I put like the picture on the side, it's usually because I don't have the book physically on me anymore. I saved some for you. Olivetti, this is a really cute book. It's a middle grade book, and I loved it. It was so sweet. This is about a typewriter who lives with a family. Now, this typewriter has seen so many things, has great memories of this family. This was a gift to a woman named Beatrice, and Beatrice spends a lot of time typing. So Olivetti has all the memories just put into its core by Beatrice. Now, something happens to Beatrice. She kind of goes missing, and we don't know what is going on. So one of Beatrice's children, she has 4 of them. Ernest, he has problems. He has to go to therapy. He's really sad. There was something that went on in the family that we slowly learn about throughout the book, so I'm not going to tell you what. He's not doing too well, but when his mom goes missing, he kind of goes berserk. He starts learning about Olivetti here, and the typewriter starts talking to him, and it happens early on in the book. Ernest is trying to use Olivetti to help find his mother. It is about Ernest trying to learn to trust people, and about growing, and about making friendships, because there's a friendship that he makes along the way trying to find his mother, and it is really, really good. And it's about family, and just the way that they connect to one another, and the importance of staying as a unit and fighting through things that are tough. So it's a beautiful story, and it's so fast and easy to read. The font is pretty big. It was in 24 hours that I read this book. Very easy, great book. Recommend it. Yes. Okay. The last book, The One and Only Bob. Now, this is a sequel book. This is the second book from The One and Only Ivan, which I read to my sons when they were quite little. Whenever that book came out, my older 2 sons, I read the first book. They loved it. It was so good. This was before the film came out that I had read it. They just really ate it up and thought it was adorable. So a few years ago, when my 16-year-old was in 7th grade, he read this one, but I didn't read it. And then last year, I read the 3rd book to my whole family, which I don't know why I skipped this book. I completely forgot this book existed. So I had to backtrack. So I said, I'm going to read the 2nd book this year. This was one of my books that I wanted to read throughout the year. Again, I don't have a video of that. One and Only Bob, it's another really easy, quick read. I mean, come on, like 1 page, it hardly has words on it. And there are some pictures here and there. There's some pictures. So this book also I read within 24 hours. It is so easy. All of these books are very easy to read. It's a middle grade book. It is good for younger kids. So Bob, this was my least favorite of the 3 books. Bob, he is a dog, and this talks about his life, visiting his friends that we know from the first book. He's now living with Julia, who is a little girl that we met in the first book as well. So we learn a little bit about Bob's backstory, and then we also learn about what he can contribute in life, because he's just kind of going with the flow. He's used to being a free soul, and he doesn't really have that much of an attachment to anyone or anything, so he said. This book shows that it's okay to care. It was cute. Definitely a really nice kid story. So that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed these reviews. Have you read any of these? Do you want to read any of these? Do these interest you? Tell me your story. Thank you. Bye.